like we've never seen before. I think since the lockdown to now, we're seeing CEO resignations, we're seeing topics that would have been laughed out of the room a couple of years ago now being socially acceptable interactions. I think pretty much everyone knows that Disney's not there to help children. I think we know that the images and subliminal images that have been put out in Disney for a long time have been there to subvert people's minds. So again, that's something that would have been laughed out of the room a few years ago. People are now having socially acceptable interactions about the shape of the Earth, about people having landed on the moon or not landed on the moon.
Mission accomplished, Rox.
Massively.
That's what we set out to do 4 years ago.
If I'm being honest with you. So yeah, there's a lot of contentious topics that would have not been acceptable at a Sunday lunch, and you may have been asked to leave the family meal if you carried on talking about these things. There's now a genuine thirst for that information. And the turnaround has happened so quickly from 2020 to now that I think that many of you that are sitting there can kind of have your own testimony to having these interactions yourself. There's a lot less of Love Island talk and EastEnders talk, and now more talk of whether Putin's doing what the mainstream media, just thought I won't say that on YouTube, but yeah, the narrative is putting out very, very outlandish claims. And your average person is now sitting there going, no, I've listened to this, I've looked into it a little bit, and it's not what it's pertained to be. You've got people going out there online telling us that we're bathing in snake venom, making the truth community look quite silly at the moment, not substantiating it with any source material. So I think the more that you get into these lies that have been perpetuated, the more you start to see that there's controlled up, and you can see that your fellow friends, loving brothers and sisters, are getting sucked into these distractions. So yeah, I just want to give a massive amount of respect to you all for being who you are, having the interactions that you're having, and being here now. It's a self-evident truth to me that you're sitting here, and being here in person is showing us all that there is things that are turning around. Things like this were few and far between, and for me, a few years ago, this would have been a very niche event, but it's not. Everyone understands that the Great Reset, with Klaus Schwab's book, you don't need to kind of go very far before people are having solid interactions about the fact that all of this great show is just one massive disinformation campaign. Myself, I homeschool my youngest. My youngest is 14 years old. I pulled him out of the education system in 2020. For any of you that have friends or family that are looking into homeschooling, please come to speak to me after. I've got a ton of groups for homeschooling. I've got my son on an amazing program. He's excelling more academically in the right things, not the wrong kind of indoctrination, which is what we are all starting to realise. The history that's being taught to our children and our loved ones, the science. As we all know now, with the Rona situation, we all know that the science isn't solid, and we all know that with the shape of the Earth, the science